Tim Pool. I like Tim Pool. I think he's a good guy. I do. I he's one of the first shows I watch every day. I don't put the notifications on him because YouTube is going to push him into my recommendations anyway, so there's no point in me getting alerts on his page. When I get up in the morning, one of the first things I do is I check the YouTubes for my news, and Tim Pool is one of the guys I go to. But you pissed me off this morning, Tim. I hadn't even had my coffee yet, and you're going into universal basic income. I was gonna do my Twitch stream, play some old classic video games, and then go to work. But you made me reconfigure my OBS so that I could point out why you're very wrong about this universal basic income thing. And my apologies for putting the circle around you with the arrow pointing at you. I know that sucks, but I got to get the views, right? And that's how you do it. So anyway, Tim. All right, so we're going to break this video down into two parts. One, why you're wrong, and two, why I'm right. All right. I never get mad at anybody for having an opinion that's different than mine. We all have a right to our opinion, good or bad. But nobody has the right to a bad argument. You've got a bad argument. So let's look at why your argument is bad. Let's watch the video.
Get rid of work ethic. It'll get rid of work incentive, right? So here's the thing. Imagine you have somebody who is looking for work because you need work to make money, to eat food, to live, and pay rent. The government says, hey, we're going to give...
Okay, let's stop right there. You're already digging your own hole there. People need to work to earn money, to get food, so they can live, okay? When you have a situation where if you don't do something, you will die, that's called under duress. So people are working currently under duress. We like to think we have the freedom to choose in this country. We have the freedom to choose our employers, so on and so forth, but I don't get to choose my employer. I work for the person who is willing to hire me. And if I have to take less money than I'm worth to survive, I'm doing so under duress. All right. I know what you're saying, laws of nature, blah, 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 but I don't have that right. I don't have the right to go out and hunt an animal. I can't build a house in the national forest. I can't start growing crops. I can't provide for myself. I don't have that option in the United States of America. If I did, this discussion would be a moot point. There'd be no reason to have universal basic income. But seeing as we do not have that situation in the United States, we need something. We need a very strong social safety net. And we'll get into the free market later in my argument. I'm just pointing out the problems with your argument right now.
Everybody a certain amount of money to spend as you see fit, even if you make $0. It's different.
Okay, spend money as you see fit. Now, this is really, really good that you pointed this out. That's exactly what universal basic income is money to spend as you see fit. Now, my camera got blurry there. Now, here's the thing. If you have money to spend as you see fit, right, all of a sudden those people out on the street who are begging for money so they can get something to eat or get a room for the night or whatever it is that they're saying they need money for. By the way, they need money for drugs, especially if you're here in California like I am. maybe on the East Coast. I know collecting benefits on the East Coast is very difficult and you live in New Jersey. But here on the West Coast, getting food stamps is not that difficult. It takes a couple of hours and you can get food stamps even if you don't have residency or anything like that. But I understand in New Jersey it's probably different. I know it was in Florida. Getting benefits in Florida was nearly impossible, and I had to live off of rice and beans because that's all I could afford. But here's the thing: spend money however you see fit. So if somebody comes up to you and they say money, you need money for food, well, why didn't you use your universal basic income to buy food? If you spent it on an Xbox or a television set or whatever, that's your own damn problem. And that's the best part about universal basic income is if you have it, then you don't have to worry about people anymore. People are left to strive or thrive under their own means, which is a very free market type philosophy, which I like.
Between a tax credit and people just being given cash. What happens then is the low skill workers and the minimum wage workers have a choice. Well, if I get $1,000 a month for doing nothing, why should I work at McDonald's and make $1,000 when I'm making $1,000 already?
Exactly. This is true. This is true. Why would you work for McDonald's for $1,000 when you're getting $1,000 already? Absolutely. And that's why part of the reason, part of the thing with the universal basic income is it's got to be for everyone. It can't be just for people at the bottom. Everybody's got to get it. And if you make $1 billion a year, you still get your $1,000 a month in universal basic income, and you can do whatever you want with it. Donate it to charity, use it to pay your taxes, whatever. It doesn't matter. Okay. Therefore, you don't want to create a disincentive to work. You want to create incentives to work. And the way you do that is by making it, the key word in universal basic income is universal. Everybody gets it. That's the key to a universal basic income. Now, what you're talking about here isn't universal basic income. If I go work McDonald's for $1,000 a month and I lose my $1,000 a month income from the government, that's not universal basic income. What that is guaranteed income, which is a completely different thing.
So there's a bunch of different ideas people have. Well, maybe then the universal basic income is on top of your salary. Sure, but then you're still telling someone, why should I work 40 hours, 40 hours a week for $800 a month or for $1,000 a month when I already get $1,000 and I can live minimally and do art and play guitar?
Absolutely. That's it. That'll be the choice of every single individual to make. And chances are they will, because if they're going to play guitar, that $1,000 a month is going to cover their rent. And if they want to buy a new guitar, or if they want to buy a new amp or a pedal or guitar strings or whatever, they're going to have to go to work. Now, also, $800 to work 40 hours a week, $800 a month working 40 hours a week, that's insane. That is crazy. I can't imagine anybody doing that unless they were operating under a system of duress, because that's insane. There's so many different things you could do in life other than work for $800 a month full time that I can't believe anybody actually does it, even in our current economy. I won't. I won't work for $800 a month, 40 hours a week. Screw that noise. Now, let's keep going.
So what happens is McDonald's says, okay, well, we need to incentivize people to work here, so they raise wages. Now it's $20 an hour to work there so that they can at least compete with universal basic income.
Correct. That is part of the plan. All right. You talk about being pro-labor all the time. You should be all for this. I mean, here's the thing. If you're 40 hours a week, first off, almost nobody works 40 hours a week anyway, especially if you're making minimum wage or thereabouts, because the employers don't want to have to pay for benefits like healthcare or whatever. So as it is, nobody gets to work 40 hours a week anyway. And why should we all be working 40 hours a week? It doesn't make any sense. If we've got a 6% unemployment, that means that 6% of the eligible working people in the United States are not needed. We don't need them to work. So what, you're just going to let them die or go on welfare or become disabled? Those are your other choices. The alternative is that we don't work 40 hours a week anymore. There's no need for a 40-hour work week because we don't need people to work 40 hours a week. Everybody can work 23, 21, 28 hours a week, all right? And that's plenty. That's plenty of work for everybody. Apparently, because we don't need that many people. There's just not enough work for everybody. So one of the ways to fix that problem is to reduce the hours per week. Make 28 hours full time. Why not? You could go 28 hours a week, and you could have a 6-day a week work day with people working three days each, and then there you go, bam, you've solved your unemployment problem, and and everybody's got work, everybody's happy, everybody can pay their rent, and you don't have people starving or having to go on welfare anymore.
because the government's giving money out for free, technically for free. Well, now they raise the price of a cheeseburger to $40. Now that $1,000 given out by the government doesn't make sense anymore because a cheeseburger's $40.
Okay, so here we get into the future fallacy, and this is where your argument goes wrong the most. All right, look it up. Future fallacy. Nobody knows what's going to happen in the future. We could make predictions based on the markets, um, but we can't with 100% certainty know what's actually going to happen in the future. If we did, then nobody would have jobs, nobody would work, we'd all be stockbrokers, which may be what happens in the future. Maybe, but not for certain. And McDonald's is not going to raise. Okay, so logically look at it for a second. McDonald's is very unlikely to raise their cheeseburgers to $40. That's insane. Nobody would go to McDonald's. Nobody would buy McDonald's. Okay, if McDonald's needs to raise the price of their cheeseburgers to $40 in order for the company to survive, then that company doesn't deserve to survive. McDonald's doesn't deserve to survive if that's the case. Okay, they're not going to do that. Look at the prices at McDonald's. The Big Macs keep going up and up and up, right? That's why they call it the Big Mac scale, not the cheeseburger scale. The Big Macs go up, but the cheeseburger is still $1, despite the fact that we do have hyperinflation going on, and we'll get to that as when we talk about it here in a second. But the price of goods is set by what people are willing to pay for it. And if McDonald's raises their burgers to $40, nobody's going to eat burgers at McDonald's. They'll get them at the grocery store. That's what I do. I don't want to pay McDonald's. I buy McDonald's. I get the dollar cheeseburger because it's cheaper than buying a burger at the grocery store and cooking it myself, even though it's a much better burger when I cook it myself. But I go to McDonald's because it's $1. I'm not going to pay $8 for a Big Mac, no matter how much I want a Big Mac. Big Macs are great. They're delicious. I love them. But there's no way I'm going to pay $8 for a Big Mac. So if I do go to McDonald's, I'm going to buy the cheeseburger, right? So that's to say that you're going to have this hyperinflation where cheeseburgers are $40 an hour is ridiculous because that's not how inflation works, okay? The only person who's responsible for inflation is the the um, the Federal Reserve. Okay, the Federal Reserve who sets the interest rates. they're the only people who are responsible for inflation. Every, you know, the to blame the working class and people earning a working living for to blame inflation on that is ridiculous, because back in the day, okay, we can look at the past. We can't look at the future, but we can look at the past. And in the past, minimum wage would be the equivalent of making like 20 odd dollars or something today, okay? And back then, cheeseburgers were dirt cheap at McDonald's. They were cheaper than they are now. So to say that increased wages causes inflation is absurd.
So now people are like, damn, I can't afford a cheeseburger anymore. Gotta go back to work. Eventually, all you do when you redistribute money like this is you create hyperinflation.
It's
It
not
doesn't
true.
make sense. Look, I think there will come a point in time when we probably do need to implement some kind of system for distributing resources outside of monetary exchange, because technology will just bring us to this point. I don't.
Okay, now you're just gonna make a bunch of now you're just gonna make a bunch of predictions about the future. So it's not important. All right. So let's go. That's one, why you're wrong. Let's go to point two, why I'm right. Okay, well, or not so much why I'm right, but my argument for supporting a universal basic income. Um, so number one, I think I've kind of gone over some of the basics about hyperinflation and all that. And it's going to be the same thing with rent too. If people are living off of $1,000 of basic income a month, all right, people who rent apartments are going to want that money, so they're going to set a price that's below that amount, because they know that at that amount they're going to be guaranteed to get a rent payment from that person indefinitely, right? If they set it too high, well, maybe they can't pay the rent or whatever, the place is vacant and they got to go through the hassle of finding new tenants and all that. So, if anything, it's going to in a way, fix prices, um, because the uh, under the free market philosophy, people will charge what people are willing to pay for it. And if people aren't willing to pay more than $1,000 a month for their apartment, they're not going to charge more than that. So these are my reasons here. One, smart people. This is the number one reason for supporting a universal basic income. Okay, I've got a business plan, and it's 54 pages long. Okay, it's a very in-depth business plan. It all functions working on a website. All right. Now, if I build this website, it'll create initially thousands of jobs. Over 5 years, that'll turn into tens of thousands of jobs, and over 10 years, it'll turn into hundreds of thousands of jobs. Okay, I could be working on that right now, but I can't, because I have to go and earn money and get paid not enough to cover my bills, which are too high. That's our current economy that we live in today. Um, and I'm a very smart person. I know that's kind of bragging, but I'm not trying to do that. I'm just trying to use myself here as an example, because it's an easy one. I've got degrees in internet technology, mathematics, computer science with a focus on artificial intelligence, and neurology. All right, I'm a very, very smart person. Okay, but currently I do not fit the demographic that would allow me to move into a higher paying position, and I'm okay with that, because I understand that we need to have a better representation of our demographics in the business world, and I understand that. But in the meantime, I have to struggle because of that. And when someone like me has to struggle, it hurts everybody, because the things that I would do would benefit everyone. Um, so if I had the universal basic income, I wouldn't have to worry about running around and getting investors and all of this and finding a team to work with and at the basic ground level because I can't do it by myself because I'm so busy with work, okay? Work that doesn't pay well enough. If I were to be able to say, yeah, screw it, I'm not going to go to work for anybody else anymore. I'm only going to work for myself. I would be able to sit here happily at my computer, slaving away, building this very, very complicated website. It might, by myself, it might take me a year or two or whatever, but I'd be okay with that because I wouldn't be under the stress of having to meet my meet my payments every month. Okay, so the even if you get one of those people for every 1,000 people who are collecting, it's completely worth it. Which brings me to point number two: dumb people. Okay, there's a lot of dumb people who are working and they suck and they make everything difficult and harder, and they don't want to be there. We as customers don't want them to be there, so let's let them not be there. The increase in efficiency itself would be a total win financially. Example, I go to Taco Bell. All right, and that's when I was in college. I'd go to Taco Bell for lunch because it was near campus. It was cheap, and the food was all right. But they had this guy there working there. He was fresh out of prison, still had the teardrops tattooed on his face. And this guy was so lethargic. Like he would literally be like lying face down on the counter, like the front counter. Like he just had no, you could tell he had no desire, no will to be there. He couldn't figure out how to use the cash register. Like every order get was screwed up all the time. If he was working there at Taco Bell, all right, you would see customers come in the door, see him, turn around, and walk out. Okay, all right. So, so why the hell was he there? Well, number one, he gets paid less than minimum wage because he's a what is it? He's a reformed convict, right, or whatever. I don't know the exact term, but he's ex-prisoner, so he gets paid less than minimum wage. So Taco Bell is like, okay, we'll take this guy because we don't have to pay him an extra $3, $4 an hour or whatever. Um, and they probably get some other kind of tax credit or something. I don't know exactly how it works, but basically they were looking at him as a money saver, but he wasn't. He was, and that guy didn't want to be there. He was there probably because he was on parole or whatever, and they're like, you have to have a job because we have this Calvinistic mentality in this country, which apparently you have too, Tim, by judging by this video, that if you don't work, you're not a good person. Well, he was working, he still wasn't a good person. If that guy just wants to fucking sit on his ass and get high and hang out with his friends, great, let him. Keep him out of the hell out of the Taco Bell. Let somebody, if we end up in a position where you don't have to do a job if you don't want to, well, you know what that means? That means that the person who's the cashier at Taco Bell is going to be somebody who really, really, really wants to be a cashier at Taco Bell. Like that is their life's ambition, is to be a cashier at Taco Bell. Probably somebody's grandma who's bored, their husband's dead, and they want to, have some human interaction or something. Probably perfectly capable of using a cash register, and will be friendly and courteous, and put a good face on the company. And if grandma doesn't want to work, she doesn't have to. All right, because she's got her universal basic income. All right, so that's old people working. That's another thing that bothers me, but that's a discussion for another time, or you can see it on one of my other videos. Responsibility. is my next note. Yes, as a society, we have a responsibility to make sure that everybody has food, housing, clothes, healthcare, the basics. All right, we're at the basic and universal basic income now. It's basic. Everybody in this country deserves the basics. If you are a disabled person, okay, there is a certain standard by which uh, the government has to provide a living situation for these people. Okay, I have interviewed, but not worked at, but spent time at several um, housing facilities for people who are disabled, and I've seen a great variety of them. I have some friends who are disabled. I've seen their living conditions. Their living conditions are better than my living conditions. Okay. All right. So here is the thing, right? If somebody who is disabled deserves a certain standard of living, then why doesn't an abled person deserve a standard of living of the same quality? If you can answer me that question, right? An able person who is capable of all sorts of things, okay? Like me, I got a degree. I've owned and operated several businesses. I've ran other people's businesses. I'm a very able person. But for the life of me, I can't find a job that pays me a living wage. All right. And so I don't work 40 hours a week. I work when I feel like it, just enough to get my bills paid. And that's it, because the money that I get, there's no incentive for me to go to work other than when I'm under duress. Right. So and because of that, my living conditions are substandard. I have to live with the bare minimums. I live in the ghetto in a house that's in disrepair to no end. It is it's a shitty, literally a shitty situation with extra emphasis on the shit. Um, so yeah, responsibility as a society, we have a responsibility to make sure that all of our people live under decent living conditions. And if we don't do that, then we are a failure as a society. Investment is the next thing on my list. What did I mean by investment? Investment. Um, I think I went over that already. I'm guessing as investment, I meant that, you know, with my $1,000 a month, I can choose to invest that money as I see fit. Either I can invest in starting my own business, I can invest it into a better living conditions, I can invest it into whatever. I can, if I already make a bunch of money, I can take it and I can give it away to charity if I so choose, get a tax credit off of it, use it to pay my taxes. However I see fit, oh, no, that wasn't what I was getting at. Investment, right? So investment in the country, that's what it is. So universal basic income is a dividend, right? I like to think of our social security card as our citizenship as a stock. We all have one stock in the United States of America. And everything you do in this country is an investment in this country. And depending on the return of that investment, how much investment I'm going to put into that stock. So, if I'm going to be getting uh, if someone's going to pay me $75,000 a year, I don't mind paying $25,000 in taxes. I don't mind working 40 hours a week. All right. But if I'm going to make $1,000 a month and have to live in a fucking shitty, moldy fucking house, uh, no, I'm not going to invest in the United States. I don't care. Right now, if the United States government got taken over by Russians or Koreans or whoever, I wouldn't give a crap. I wouldn't care, man. Like, it, does- it I there I'm not getting enough from the government to care if it exists or not. In fact, I'd probably be better off if it didn't. All right, at this point in the game, I mean, for reals. So if you want people to invest in the country, they have to get a return on the investment. And universal basic income is a way to get that return. It's an incentive to want the country to do well. If the country is going to give me $1,000 a month to spend on my rent or food or whatever, and I know that I'm going to be safe and secure as long as the United States government exists, then I will fight to the death to make sure that government exists. If I'm not getting that, I don't care. The government can go blow up for all I care. All right. And then that's my last point. This is my last point, and that's artificial intelligence. Okay. That's what I studied in college. Artificial intelligence, neurology. I was working on comparing the human brain to the computer brain and trying to assess where we are in life. And where we are is that AI is winning. That's where we are in life. It doesn't matter how smart you are as a person, how learned you are, how much education you have, what your intelligence level is. You're going to lose out to the computer, and it's going to happen soon. I don't care if you're a CEO, middle management, if you're creative, if you're a writer, if you're a painter, if you're a guitar player. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. Like, AI is there. AI is solved. And the only reason why AI doesn't exist, the only reason why AI doesn't exist is because currently our 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 income for people is deflated, artificially deflated by the government through the minimum wage, through the Federal Reserve, through the planned economy that we live in. We're deflated to the point where we're cheaper than the computer. But that's not gonna. That's the two things can happen here. Either we can continue to live in worse and worse poverty in this country, trying to keep ourselves cheaper than the computers, because the computers always get cheaper. The computers always get faster. The computers always get cheaper. You can't stop that. And so we can either try to compete against it until we all just die of emaciation and exposure, or we can have something like the universal basic income, where I'm getting $1,000 from the government, so I don't mind going to work for McDonald's to get my extra $1,000. I don't mind going to work for whoever for dirt, because it's all going to be money on top of what I'm already getting from the government. Or you have the other situation where those jobs just disappear, right? If the incentive to go to work is what the company has to pay you is more than what you're cheaper is more expensive than the computer, they're not going to hire you. They're going to put the computer in, and the computer should go in. The only reason why the computers aren't in is because people in this country are being treated as a slave class. That's all the only way I can put it to you. Um, the computer should be in. That's the and it will be in. And when that happens, you're going to see unemployment is going to jump from 6% to 50% to 75%, like literally overnight. And one of the only ways to deal with this is the universal basic income. There's others, they can round us up and put us in concentration camps. That's the other option. But it's going to happen. So I'm going to choose the universal basic income in that situation. I think that's the way to go. Anyway, that's it. That's my argument. If you think I am wrong, feel free to rebut any of that, Tim. And anybody else watching, if you think I'm wrong, feel free to leave a comment below. And yeah, leave a comment, ring the bell, subscribe. I need all that stuff. Yeah, so cheers and vote UBI.